Welcome, welcome with peace and love. This is Miracles with the Twist. I'm Lori Cardona, and I'm here with Reverend Lisa Benton. Goddi Lisa, good to see you. Hey, it's February 2025, believe it or not. We were not completely absent in January because we did have a little critter who showed up with some wisdom, and that was my little dog Cheekies. She was the star of the show for 2 episodes of Miracles with a Twist. So if you happen to miss those, they will be under this video when this video drops on the Miracles with a Twist playlist of the Rev Lori Cardona YouTube channel. So welcome. We'd like to start with just a moment in grounded silence as we breathe in together and exhale into our hearts and feel our hearts beating. As we recognize that our hearts beat not just for ourselves, but for one another and for all our brothers and sisters. So let's enter into this time together with gratitude for the opportunity to be living in Southeast Florida, looking at the sunshine. It's so beautiful here.
Northeast here.
Northeast Florida. I did a lot of traveling in December, and part of my travel was to visit with Goddi Lisa and her beloved husband, who I consider a brother on the spiritual path, Paul. And it was wonderful to spend time together. Did a lot of traveling in December and took a break from doing Miracles with a Twist broadcasts. And so we jumped in January with the 2 from Cheekies. And if you follow us on Facebook, we also had a throwback to January of 2024. So how I wanted us to start today, Goddi Lisa, was a reminder that we see A Course in Miracles as a mystic's path, a beautiful and consistent opportunity for us to be looking within to see how we look without. How are we seeing the world? How are we judging, criticizing versus looking with eyes of compassion? And so if people are not familiar with the workbook, it is the follow-up to the text. A Course in Miracles is a metaphysical, mystical, channeled scripture, for lack of a better word, a spiritual teaching that reminds us for 31 chapters over and over, reminding us to look within before we judge without. And then when we get to the workbook, we've already had a theoretical foundation if we started with the text. And now we have an opportunity to put the text lesson into lessons that we practice. And so then we have 365 days of practice. And we could do this over and over and over again. If you're like me, I've been doing it for, I think, 30 years now. Because as much as we want to rise higher, there are times when we just don't. And so we have this foundational teaching to remind us, not to condemn us, not to harm us in any way, but to gently bring us back to the remembering that we want to see the world with loving eyes. And so I wanted to remind you of a group of lessons that are essential for remembering. And if you go into anything else, maybe you could come back and remember lessons from 20 to 30. So I'm just gonna review some of them real quick. Lesson 20 says, I am determined to see. And it tells us that this is our first attempt to introduce structure. So what is the structure? The structure is our willingness to put into practice the concept of seeing with eyes of love and seeing with eyes of compassion and kindness. And to notice when we're being critical and judgmental and controlling, and to notice it and to say, oh, I am determined to see. So if we fast forward to lesson 27, and we've been spending time saying, I want to see with eyes of love and kindness and peace, lesson 27 says, above all else. Above all else, I want to see. Now, this is given priority to our own discipline to say, I want to see, I am determined to see, I'm determined to see what's really there, not my judgment, not my criticism, but a beloved child of God. Whether or not I agree with them, whether or not I even actually like them in some way, or if they're out there in, politics or social, whatever, we can still say, I am determined to see what is the truth of that person. So now we're making the decision to make seeing above all else. I want to see. It gives a priority to our willingness and less focus on our ego, the ego eye, not the eagle eye of seeing light, but the ego's eyes that need to control and criticize. 28 says, above all else, I want to see things differently. And this is the opportunity for us to catch ourselves. What do I want to see? I want to see what is different other than my critique, other than my judgment. And why do I want to do that? Well, lesson 29 tells us God is in everything I see. And that's the reason why we want to see things differently, because instead of seeing others as people we need to judge, control, and be mad at for something, we see them as the embodiment, the reflection, the goodness. Even if we don't see the goodness, we are determined to remember and to see that the light of love was planted in them. They have that soul within, that light. So I can get out of my own way, out of my judgment, out of my scorn, right? If I can get out of my ego, there's a message in the text, and I sent this out in our WhatsApp group recently, and you responded to it to me personally, where it says, the alertness of the ego to the errors of other egos is not the alertness that the Holy Spirit would have you attain. Oh my goodness, it's like, oh, right. If we're going to be good at something, let's be good at seeing with eyes of love. Let's stop making other people feel bad because they're just who they are. Let's stop trying to dim the light of others. And then I want to just share one last one from lesson 30, because I said from 20 to 30. Lesson 30. Real vision is not only unlimited by space and distance, but it does not depend on the body's eyes at all. Real vision, true vision, is the vision of the heart, the vision of the spirit. Like the little prince said, what can be truly seen can be seen with the heart. Excuse me for not quoting the little prince exactly, but the idea is that we see with eyes of love and compassion and kindness. And now we know that we're trying to rise higher, pray harder, love steadily, forgive readily. We're trying to be on the mystic's path. We're trying to be mystics. And yet there are times, as someone said, that we go from being, the risen Christ, Mother Teresa, whatever you think is a higher holy self, to the wicked witch. That can happen in a matter of seconds because we're not paying attention to how we're seeing. We're paying attention to what is happening in our reactivity from the ego's perspective.
Well, you have nailed so many things that have been going through my mind. I mean, this is a crazy time. Okay, you mentioned a few things, since December and so forth, and why we didn't, what we did do and what we didn't do or whatever, but we all know there's crazy going on all over. And I was, excuse me?
Sometimes within.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't go without going within. And
Right.
that is the key to a mystic's path, is, as you pointed out, in those perfect choices to share with us those lessons. There's what we see with our blinders on or our peripheral vision locked or whatever, and what we see with our hearts. And that is the mysticism. as I see it and as I try to live it. And the more I practice it, the more I'm triggered by my judgments, and the more I am saying, help me to see this differently. Show me this differently. Spirit, push me away and speak for me. All of that. Because I believe that I know, I don't believe, I know that these principles in so many, in the Upanishads, in the Tao, in Course in Miracles, in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, all of these and so many more. That's what is being said.
Yeah.
You're created perfectly in the eyes of God, Allah, the divine, whatever. It's there. You are making this movie and you're putting people in boxes and you're putting yourself in a box, and then, all comes all this judging. The lessons help me so much in bringing me down or out of the clouds. But the thing that got me the most, as you were talking, reminded me of something that you had actually sent to me, I believe, by Richard Rohr.
Yes.
He's for those who don't know, he's a Franciscan friar. He's the founder of Contemplation, the Center for Contemplation and Action, or Action and Contemplation. He's a writer, he's a speaker. He's retired now, but he still pops out. And he was speaking. I'm going to recite his quote, and he's talking about organized religion. Okay. But I feel it goes beyond that. His words go beyond organized religion.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's our society, our world, our upbringing, all this kind of stuff that has created this movie that we've hopped on and decided to make ourselves the star of it or the brunt of it or whatever, and create characters that should act a certain way and so forth. And we miss out on our God-given divinity, our connection with unity as one miraculous, beautiful, peaceful creation. So I'd like to share what Richard Rohr said, and I hope that all will keep in mind the vastness of this, although it does mention organized religion. It starts out with organized religion. Organized religion does not tend to cook you. It just keeps you on a low, half-cold simmer. It doesn't teach you how to expect the mystery to show itself at any profound level. It tends, and I don't mean to be unkind, and that's Richard Rohr saying that, to make you codependent upon its own mystery, instead of leading you to know something for yourself, which is the whole point. And that is what I have done for many years, was to believe what people thought of me, believe what I thought of me, judged other people, created personas of them, and then held them accountable to my persona of them, and missed out on all these beautiful messages and beautiful gifts that God was giving me every time I turned around. And so with the teachings of, in my case, in your case, and in this case, we're talking about A Course in Miracles, it actually, to me, is a step-by-step. It is a course. So of course, there's instruction on how to live the path of the mystic, which is a connection directly with the divine that we are aware of. We may forget it sometimes and we may step outside of it, but if we keep our eyes open and our ears open, we'll be brought back to it. Something will show us this isn't working, or keep on going. And to me, and that is the miracle, the holy instant, the atonement, all of that.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's what all the words mean, and that's what all the course means, and that's where it's
right.
You started by saying, I'm triggered now by my own judgment. And it reminded me of something that's very early on in the text. I don't know if it's maybe even the first chapter or the second chapter, where Jesus is speaking. And he says, I was once like you, but the only difference, I now no longer have tolerance for doing anything other than what is love. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's so true. So instead of getting triggered by what's out there and getting triggered by other people, maybe we just become so self-aware that when we are judgmental or critical or controlling or reactive and or anything, we realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm triggered by my own stuff. I want to bring it back to my sense of responsibility for how I now proceed. And you know LMC Interfaith Ministries has been through a lot of evolutions, and Miracles with a Twist specifically created a family. We had that family unit, and we lost some some of our loved ones more than we would have expected to in a short period of time. And we really had to put our learnings to the test. How did we learn to rise higher in the spite in the midst of tragedy, not in spite of the tragedy, but in the midst of the tragedy? How did we support each other? And we supported each other as loved ones do, but in addition to just being shoulders to cry on, we also reminded each other of what it is we truly and ultimately believe. And the story just came to mind, and I might have told it another time, but it bears repeating. I read a book called Forgive Everybody Everything by Father Gregory Boyle, who's the founder of Homeboy Industries.
Right.
And he had one he calls homies, he had one of his guys who really wanted to get baptized. He had been through the program and he felt like he had been so relieved of his anger and his hate, and he just wanted to love, and he wanted to put his newfound spirituality to practice. And so they had a date and a time for him to go to get this baptismal ritual, whatever that was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother was killed in gang activity the night before. And so he went to the church and he was telling Father Gregory Boyle, I wanted my brother to be here, but I can't find him. I don't know what happened. And Father Gregory had to tell him, your brother was killed last night. And we don't have to do this. You need to scream and yell and just don't go back out there. Don't seek revenge. And he said, no. I want to do this. If there's no other time in my life, this is the moment that I can prove to you and to my own self that I mean it, that I want to do this. And that's what the mystic's path is. That's what a true spiritual devotee is. That no matter what, we seek peace. No matter what, we see the holiness, the God, the light, and we integrate that, regardless of what's coming at us, regardless of how much others might be criticizing, controlling, judging it. We're like, please stop. What really matters is what's going on in here. Can we bring our hand back to our heart and say, above all else, I want to see this differently because I am determined to see. I am determined to see the light, the love. That doesn't mean we don't have our moments of crying. We certainly did a lot of crying back in the year and a half of losses. But it was crying for our earth experience, not for our soul's experience, because that was when we were able to see there's a bigger picture here.
And well, that is so true. That story I have heard before, but each time I hear it, I am in a different place in my life, and it affects me in a different way, a deeper way. And right now, it is a difficult time for me. I'm struggling in with the crazy that's going on. I have people I care about that are, struggling, and I can't fix everybody and all that. So that is why I am so excited about us talking about the mystic's path, in particular in our case. And I encourage anybody to do this in any way that they can. But one of the many things about A Course in Miracles is that it can be intertwined with any type of religion or spirituality. It's not going to conflict with it. It's just not, because it's principles, and the principles are principles. They don't change. But I just feel that it is so hard for me to know all those lessons. I've done them enough. I know them.
Over and over.
But yes, and I will continue. But to put them into practice at deep times of confusion, pain, anger, whatever it is, I it is essential to know that this is not real. And I don't want that to sound weird or woo-woo or, flighty. It isn't. It's what we make it. I'm not saying that I'm not looking at you, because I am. But what I think of you, what I'm thinking as I look at you, or what I'm thinking in the background or whatever, there's palm trees behind you. They're palm trees. They are, but that's not the big picture. The big picture is that I see God. I see God in you. I see God in the palm trees. I see God everywhere in this music room with all my neat albums and music stuff. That is what it's all about. And it's funny, because as I was thinking about and making notes about things that I wanted to talk about, I thought about the book and the movie Eat, Pray, Love. And I think most people have either read the book and seen the movie, or read the book and seen the movie, or whatever. And I may recall Ketut. And he was a teacher to Liz, the protagonist, and an author. And he gave her this picture that he had drawn during a meditation. And it reminded me of him, of what he said. And it was about keeping your feet on the ground. Like you have 4 feet on the ground, but you keep your heart in the heavens. And I'm not quoting Ketut, but I did find his picture that he gave her. So I could print it, and it gives you an idea. I'm sure you've seen it, but it's, if you look and see where the eyes and the face and the heart, they're in the heart space. So, and there's nothing at the head. So it's, you keep
You
your
hold it up. We can't see it. Hold it up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Beautiful.
Yep. And if you see, there's 4 feet,
Yeah.
but the face
Bring
is
it
in
up a little
the
bit.
heart space. So the heart, we keep our feet on the ground because we're on earth. Got to stay grounded. But your heart space, your head comes from your heart space. And I just love that. At least that's the way I interpreted it. And the way he said it, it was just perfect. And so that is what mysticism to me is all about. And when we do this, and you and I have both experienced this, and we know people who have had all different levels of the whole, what is referred to as a holy instant, or some people call it an aha moment. My auntie called it a God wink. It's when something takes your breath away and you are one. It can be a split second, it can be moments, it can be an entire experience that you could write about. But with me, it's usually, I've had a couple of really major ones, but it's usually something, by the time I realize it's happened, it's gone. But it's a beautiful feeling, this oneness with the universe, with the divine, with everything that is, and this can be going on in chaos. And if I ask, help me to see this differently, that's what I'm asking for. Chaos is going on around me. I can't not see it. I need to see things differently. like katut. I need to have my feet on the ground. I need to have my mind coming from my heart. So I am connected to all that's going on. And if I am loving those that appear in the movie to be creating my chaos, that puts me in a very controlled position. I'm in charge. And I don't have to get into it. I can't fix everything, change everything I want, but I have this divine, beautiful feeling that is so much more powerful than any anger, frustration, or anything that I could ever experience.
Yes, when we have that determination to see it, I am determined to see. I am determined to see things differently. Above all else, I am
Yes,
determined. Above all else, meaning above my ego, above the chaos,
yes,
above my expectations. Then I get to see what is true beyond all of that. You said sometimes it seems strange to say that it's not really how here, or the world's not real, and I think sometimes it helps to say, well, it's all temporary. And it's not even about this too shall pass. It means this is all gonna pass.
right,
All temporary. This body space experience is temporary.
right.
And so if I'm gonna spend it being angry, being critical, being controlling, being mad about what's going on out there, instead of trying to bring more light and love into the world, then I am not doing the spiritual discipline of being determined to see, of wanting to rise higher, of seeing the light and the love.
That's right.
And we are responsible and accountable only to ourselves. I mean, I know that if I make a good show of being a good person out there, but I'm not being a good person in my life and with my loved ones, then the truth is what is actually happening within my spirit, within
Yeah.
my body, mind, soul experience. And so I am accountable only to myself because I know the truth.
And
And sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, that reminds me of my New Year's resolution, or whatever it is, my soul searching resolution, to be lead chair in my own symphony.
Mm,
It's gonna be my symphony, my instruments, and I am lead chair in each one.
right.
And I am not saying I am lording over my own power or whatever, using this to lord over others. What I'm saying is I'm going to get the best sound out of me that I can get, the best violin, the best piano, the best every kind of instrument that there is. And I'm going to be first chair. And the more I can gather that, the more I have room to share. And the more I have to share, the more
Yeah.
joy,
We're fine tuning,
rather than judging and holding on to all this stuff.
right? In terms of the instrument analogy, it's like we're fine tuning the instrument of our own soul.
Yes,
And
yes,
this is where we take accountability to ourselves. This is where we look within. This is where we decide how we're going to walk and talk at any given moment. And I've told this story also before about Ram Dass getting pulled over by the police, and he was like, so he had just gotten to this place where he just felt so much love for everyone, and he said, I'm just going to apply it to every situation, to everyone, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, no matter who. And so he's looking in the rearview mirror, and this police officer's coming up and ready to give him a ticket because for whatever he did. And he just decided he was going to look at him with love. And he said he rolled down the window. It was probably back in the day. You actually rolled down the window. And he said, I just loved him. I just felt all this love for him. And I thought, wow, to be able to bring love into the moments when we're watching a politician or on TV, or when we're listening to somebody who's criticizing us, or when we're in a position where we would normally have reactivity to go, oh, I am determined to see. I above all else, I am determined to see. And you don't have to be religious. You don't even have to be anyone who believes in one specific person, place, or thing. And I told you about a friend of mine.
you have an atheist friend, yeah.
friend who's an atheist, and she would say, "Look, I don't believe all the stuff that comes around the words that are spoken in religious circles, but I am going to do my best to live my life like Jesus Christ. I want to be loving. I want to be caring. I want to be compassionate. I want to be forgiving." I was like, well, that's probably the most spiritual thing I've heard in a long time. So how can we deny the truth of our own willingness, our own practice, our own discipline, and then our own sight? What
Exactly.
it is and how it is that we're truly seeing each other.
Exactly. And I really hope that those who are watching will share with us any questions as we go along on this, because we're going to talk about, and this isn't something that's set up or anything, but throughout the year, we're going to be talking about different experiences living in the real world. Real meaning as actually non-real world, the physical world, the earthly place where we are right now, with what we're going through and how we're going through it, and how we have either gotten through it or would like to share how we got through it. So I hope people will do that with us. Let us know something is troubling them and they don't get the whole, how do I see this differently? It's very hard sometimes, very hard.
That's why we
And
call it spiritual practice.
and that's exactly right. Practice, practice, practice. You don't go one day, well, I said I'm gonna be the, first chair in my symphony, but that's my holy symphony. That is not this music room, believe me. I am nobody's first chair in here because I've, got my judgments and my limits and all that kind of stuff. But I would like, I hope that people will share with us. It would be nice. And in the meantime, we will share with each other
Yes.
the stuff, for better word, stuff that we go through on this plane, and how we can keep our feet on the ground and our head and our head in our heart and out.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I know you wanted to share a prayer or a quote from A Course in Miracles as we wrap up. And
yes, I did. But before I do that, I would just like to thank you. And I always do as my friend and all that kind of stuff. But that this is as leader of LMC Interfaith Ministries. And I don't know who knows what. This is part of Miracles with a Twist. This was a spinoff of Miracles with a Twist, and we had Miracles with a Twist conversations, and just talked about the mystics in general from history and so forth. But LMC Ministries does a lot. And we're now getting to see our little buddy Cheekies in her little videos where she shows how beautiful she is and how much she's learned in school and all this kind of stuff. But we also have full moon celebrations, and we have the different, anybody can go on Lori Cardona's YouTube page and see the different files there and the different playlists. And you can see the different things that we've done. And this takes a lot of time and a lot of work, and there's a lot of stuff. It's not just, in no way is it just you and I talking. It's got all kinds of things. You've got music there. You've got all kinds of beautiful things to raise people up. And I'm bringing this up to not only thank you, but to encourage people to go there, because there's a lot of stuff that can really help kind of help you on your path. Maybe when you stumble, or maybe when you want to celebrate. There's plenty of celebration. It's not all, how do I, stop feeling crappy? It's like, how do I spread my joy? It's all there.
yeah,
So,
I just want to supplement a little, or add a little in there. So before you end with the quote, because we also offer daily inspirational messages through WhatsApp. If anybody's interested in that, we have some private groups that we continue that are closed because they fill up when we close. And one's Women Embracing Spirit, and the other one is a social spiritual group that we have. And in the YouTube channel is Rev Lori Cardona. there's some the music shares and Miracles with a Twist are the two that are specific to LMC Interfaith Ministries and Miracles with a Twist. And also there's Facebook pages. The Facebook
Right.
page there's one called Miracles with a Twist and another one called Miracles with a Twist Conversations. And I post everything everywhere. But if you haven't received the daily inspirational messages, you have to contact me directly, and I will put you on the WhatsApp group. Under this video in the comments section, I will put all the lessons that I made reference to. The one thing we cannot do is that picture that you showed us, because for some reason we put a photo in the YouTube comments, but we can put it on the Facebook page.
Right, right.
Place to put it. So
Perfect.
thank you for reminding. I'll also, for those of you who are inspired to for devotional giving, or just saying thank you by ways of helping out, keep the lights on.
Yep.
I'll have a PayPal link in the comments as well.
Perfect, perfect. And if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Just hit it. We're not going to harass you. You won't receive emails from us or anything. We don't do that. Or, I'm saying we, LMC Ministries and all that doesn't do that. Right. Unless you specifically ask to be in a text group or an email group or something like that. So you just subscribe, because it helps to move us around in a good way on YouTube. So when people are looking for stuff, maybe they'll show up, you know, with us. Who knows? So having said that, I'm going to recite a part from chapter 8 of the text. And you'll remember that Rev Lo said that's the beginning of the book. And of course, the miracles previous to the lessons. So when you meet anyone, and that's anyone, remember it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself.
Yes, so amen to that, and peace to everyone. Let us rise higher so that our eyes can see the light and the love in one another. I am determined to see. Above all else, I am determined to see. And what we have coming up is more conversations with myself and Goddi Lisa, as well as we have an interesting conversation coming up with Linda Pezos, talking about her experience with Joe Dispenza, and a beloved friend of ours, the spiritual priestess Efunlayo Maxi, who will be talking to us about the mystics and the mysticism of Reiki as a healing practice, mind, body, spirit. So thank you so much for this conversation, and God bless you. Peace to you.
Peace to you.